Velasco. And thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, I suppose, I don't think there will be a problem for Manny.
As it's there, very fighting. But every once in a while, the mind can also be controlled from muscle.
Only here para sa bayan. And that's the opening bell for Round by Round presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas! Welcome world! Ako po si Boyet Season.
And I'm Santino Hanasan. Bill Velasco will be joining us later on in the show.
Okay mga kaibigan, sa aming programa ngayong gabi, alam niyo naman, siguro naman, no? Ilang araw na, alam niyo nang nanalo si Terence Crawford. Pero eto yan. Ang gusto daw ni Terence Crawford ngayon mga kaibigan ay ilaban against Canelo Alvarez. Anak ng bakokang baka mga kaibigan. Alam niyo, ito si Terence Crawford, masabi ko lang nung nakita ko yung laban niya against Sean Porter, ang naalala ko si si Tommy the Hitman Hearns, 'di ba? Yung forma, parang Tommy the Hitman Hearns. Pero okay. Anyway, etong si Terence Crawford mga kaibigan, malamang sa aking pakiwari, sabi niya, ang ganda ng reception nung laban ko against Sean Porter. Pwede sigurong umasam at mag-aim ng isang laban na as in limpak-limpak na salapi. Pero ano sa tingin mo, Santino? Ito ba ay maaaring mangyari against Canelo Alvarez?
Para sa akin, sir, actually kung tutuusin, very possible fight yan. Dahil you have two big names. You have arguably two of the biggest names in boxing today in si Terence Crawford and si Canelo Alvarez. Terence Crawford, arguably one of the most dominant light welterweights ngayon, welterweights in the world. He showed that against the Sean Porter, coming back from what I can say is adversity, being in a very, very close 10-round war against Sean Porter to get the finish late. Tapos ngayon naman, sabi ni Nisi the other night, big marquee win niya sa division. I wouldn't fault him for thinking bigger, thinking outside the box. If I were him though, I would stay put, dominate the welterweight division. You have Errol Spence waiting, you have Yordenis Ugas. Pero again, yun nga, kung big box talaga ang habol, magandang very intriguing fight ang one against Canelo Alvarez.
But if you're looking at something that's more plausible, Ikaga, if you're talking about the realism and the reality of how the world of boxing and more so, yung kanyang weight class is concerned and taking into account na itong panalo niya against Sean Porter really put him on the map, ika nga. Di ba? Just taking a step back. Di ba sabi niya nga kay Bob Arum, ano ka ba naman? Dati pinapangakaw mo sa akin, may Pacquiao, may Errol Spence, hindi mo binigay sa akin. Dapat dun pa lang malaking pangalan na ako. Di ba? Kumbaga, nag-antay pa ako ng panahon para magkaroon ng ganito against a Sean Porter. Do you think that he was really deserving of that opportunity, a fight against a Pacquiao or an Errol Spence, even before a fight against Sean Porter?
Oh, definitely. Para sa akin. When he was dominating sa light welterweight, you could see how talented of a boxer he was, how special of a fighter he was. When he finally went up to welterweight, dumami lalo yung options against bigger names like yun nga, Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Sean Porter. Even actually, if you think about it, I wouldn't be surprised kung back then, when he jumped up to welterweight, big name agad. To be fair, big name agad. I think he faced Jeff Horn immediately, when he came up to welterweight and dominated Jeff Horn in spectacular fashion. Yun in itself is a claim na I deserve to be here. I deserve to go up against these big names. For me, even before facing Sean Porter, if I'm not mistaken, last year andun na yung talks with him supposedly facing Manny Pacquiao. I for one was hoping that it would not happen because I know it would have ended badly for Manny Pacquiao. But yun it just goes to show na at that level na siya. And to be part of the top 5, top 3 pound for pound in the world, big name, obviously, it's no denying na big name na nga si Terence Crawford.
It's really funny, kung minsan, Santi, na may mga fighters talaga na, kumbaga, talented, pero hindi talaga nabibigyan ng pagkakataon upang lumaban sa isang taong magkakaroon ng maraming mata, ika nga, to have as many eyes as they deserve. And I agree with you that ito si Terence Crawford really had that right already. Maybe 2-3 fights ago already to really face up against a really big marquee name. But unfortunately, hindi siya nabigyan ng pagkakataon. At ngayon na ika nga wala ng Manny Pacquiao, yung Errol Spence coming off an injury is still questionable as in sino ba talaga kakalabanin niya. And now that he has already forced Sean Porter to retirement for now, sabi ko nga for now, ano ang kahinatnan? Ano talaga ang nasa hinaharap para dito kay Terence Crawford? Although the reason why we're talking about a Terence Crawford Canelo Alvarez possible matchup is that when you talk about money, when you talk about marquee names, you talk about eyes watching a card. These two names will really hit it big. But okay. Just to close out this conversation, but here is the bigger question. Will Canelo accept?
I think, it would be a smart fight for Canelo Alvarez. Being the smaller man, si Terence Crawford, I would think it would be an easy fight for Canelo Alvarez. But then again, there's a reason why Terence Crawford is one of the best. It's a big money fight. At this point, I think wala na kailangan masyadong patunayan si Canelo sa weight division niya. I think he's already gone up a weight division to find more challenges. Terence Crawford would be a very interesting, intriguing challenge for him.
Oh, yes. But sa akin naman, just to close out this conversation, to go up against Canelo Alvarez for me on your first fight after defending against, after winning against Sean Porter will be a bit, just a bit too dangerous and a bit too cocky for Terence Crawford. Maybe another fight with somebody as talented or as talented maybe as Canelo would give him that knowledge to eventually face up against Alvarez, but not immediately go up against Canelo. Well, that's my take. Do you agree? Disagree?
I agree. Completely agree. Easier fights muna.
Okay mga kaibigan. So para sa inyo na mga nagiinit na rin, wag muna kayong pumusta. Hindi pa mangyayari yan. Yan pa'y isang kahathang isip lang po namin ni Santino Onasan at ng inyong abang lingkod. Sa amin naman pong ikalawang paksang mga kaibigan, ngayon our second topic will now deal with something also that's hypothetical, but more hypothetical. Hypothetical, it is not really, if you think about it. Dahil, bakit nga ba, mga kaibigan, ang mga tulad nila ex-basketball player Nate Robinson, Deron Williams, football player Chad Ochocinco, etong mga to, mga kaibigan, hindi naman boksingero, ay nabibigyan ng professional boxing license. Kumbaga, bakit napapayagan magmaneho ng race car ang mga taong nakascooter? Hindi ba? Bakit nga ba, Santino? Bakit?
Well, I think it's all about the novelty. Sports fans, well, actually just mainstream fans in general, we love to see things out of the ordinary, things out of the so imagine seeing your favorite or basketball player, your favorite NFL player,
Yeah.
raise up 12-ounce gloves, 14-ounce gloves, and get into the ring against another fellow former NBA player, former NFL player. Nakakatuwa lang tignan. Nakakaaliw lang panoorin. But if you're a real fight fan, if you're someone who like our co-hosts dito sa show na to, mga purists kumbaga ng sport of boxing,
Hindi sila purist, matatanda lang yan.
pero yun nga, feeling ko kung katulad yan nila na medyo they hold the sport to a higher level of respect. Feeling ko hindi na they won't appreciate seeing these kinds of fighters to these kinds of athletes kumbaga crossing over, and ano to over the hill athletes na to crossing over to boxing.
You know, the one thing I actually I appreciate their intent to maybe show a different facet of their athleticism. But then again, as I've always said, an exhibition fight is an exhibition fight. But for them to be granted a professional boxing license is a different story. Di ba? Kaya nga ginawa ko ehemplo yung, sige, may lisensya. Di ba? May lisensya. Pero, ako, ang lisensya ko, license to drive. Ayan general, license to drive. Pero hindi naman nakasaad doon kung ano talaga yung pwede mong imaneho, di ba, per se. Driver's license. So ano yan? Pwedeng motor, pwedeng kotse, pwedeng truck, di ba? So paano yan? Kumbaga, di ba, ang professional boxing license ay dapat ibinibigay lamang sa mga taong profesional. Kumbaga, may kakayahan na lumaban sa telon, may kaalaman lumaban sa telon, at isa talagang profesional. Hindi yung physically can handle to get into the ring and fight a boxing match. Do we share that same opinion?
Tama po kasi yun nga, if you think about it, a lot of dito lang sa Philippines, no, ang dami mo napapanood na amateur fighters na grabe na kung papanoorin mo, ang galing. And then malalaman mo hindi pa sila amateur kasi alam nila hindi pa sila ready. So they have to work hard every day. They have to gain experience to be able to finally decide for themselves na kaya ko na mag-pro, kukuha ko license. I think it should be the same story. Granted, these guys are athletes. Oh, sige, top athletes sila during their time. But in a different sport, in a different battlefield, kumbaga. The basketball is very, very different from boxing. NFL is very, very different from boxing. Even MMA itself is very, very different from boxing. Admirable if they do after their NBA careers, after their NFL careers, after their MMA careers, gusto talaga nila pursue mag-professional boxing. They go through the proper motions, go through the proper process. Mag-amateur sila, rack up enough fights. Kung talagang decidido sila. But yun nga, I think the reason they get the licenses is because big names sila. I'm sure malaking bagay yung novelty sila. And I'm sure maraming mga nagbaback na dyan ng mga promoters na kailangan namin ilagay itong tao na to sa card na to, bigyan nyo ng lisensya.
But isn't that some form of a disrespect to people who legitimately labor and for many years try to sharpen and improve their craft? And now, here's this big name who never was an amateur boxer and just gets a professional boxing license. Makibigan ang punto namin dito, hindi yung galing ng mga atleta. Ang punto namin dito ay ang pagbibigay ng professional na lisensya para sa sport na boxing. Yun ang punto namin dito. So, ang hinihimutok po na aming kalooban ay, kumbaga, ako ay si Boyet Season. Maganda boses ko. Pero, gusto kong mag-record ng kanta at maging singer. Maganda boses ko. Pero papayagan nyo ba ako kumuha gumawa ng isang plaka na kumanta? Hindi, di ba? Ganun lang yun. Ang punto namin dito ni Santino, mga kaibigan, ay merong mga bagay na dapat talagang sinusunod ang proseso. Kumbaga, hindi dahil, malaking pangalan. Bigyan ng lisensya profesional para sa larong boxing. Hindi po pwede yan. Gusto nyo paglabanin itong atletang to tsaka itong professional na boxer? The exhibition lang. Walang record. Kumbaga walang kasi nangyayari po, mga kaibigan. So binigyan ng professional na lisensya sa boxing. Pag tumingin na kayo ngayon sa listahan ng mga professional na boksingero, lalabas na ngayon yung pangalan nila doon. Makakahalubilo na po nila yung mga taong lehitimong boksingero. Yun po ang punto namin. Hindi ba, Santino?
Totoo po yan. Yun nga, kaya siguro ang dami ring galit. Ang daming na-frustrate sa situation sa boxing ngayon na there are guys like yung mga YouTube vloggers, yung mga Jake Paul,
internet sensations.
Internet sensations na well, siguro sige, some of them desidido sila na maging professional. Pero nabibigyan sila ng unfair advantage because of their clout, kumbaga. And it speaks more of the promoters and of the license giving bodies rather than the athletes themselves. Kasi parang there should be a stricter set of guidelines or stricter set of requirements. May parang certain number of amateur bouts ka dapat bago ka maging eligible para mag-professional.
Okay.
If you want to be able to respect the sport the way people hope that you would, dapat gano'n. Ayusin, kumbaga parang gawin mong respectable din, even the smallest detail, like granting people licenses. Kasi tama yung sinabi niyo, sir. Titignan, list of professional boxers. You have guys like Muhammad Ali, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather at the top. Titignan mo sa baba, you have guys like Nate Robinson or Jake Paul. Not taking anything from what they can do or they've done.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that they don't belong in the same conversation.
Yeah.
So yun lang. I think it's about tightening the guidelines, tightening the rules, tightening the requirements.
And I think having a bigger and having a bigger respect for the sport. Okay. Okay, mga kaibigan, sa puntong ito ng ating programa, mga kaibigan, we'd like to turn it over to the one and only Bill Velasco.
Thanks, Boyet and Santino. For today, I had another topic planned, but there's something that was really major that came up in the news Tuesday, and it's good news, bad news. Good news is the 4 Olympic Filipino boxers returned to their alma mater, University of Baguio. At sila po ay nangako na talagang gusto nilang tapusin ang kanilang pag-aaral. Bagamat naghahanda yung 3 sa kanila, si Nesty Petesio, Carlo Paalam at Irish Magno para sa darating na Southeast Asian Games. At si Yumir Marshall naman ay naghahanda para sa kanyang susunod na laban bilang isang professional boxer. No? So that's the good news. Ang masamang balita po nito ay ang boxing ay madadamay sa isang napakalaking issue na nag-ugat naman sa track and field. No, inakusahan ng PATAFA o Philippine Athletics Track and Field Association si EJ Obiena na hindi pagbayad sa kanyang coach at pinababalik sa kanya ang 85,000 euro o mahigit 4 na milyong piso na di umano ay binayad sa kanya at hindi daw niya binayad sa kanyang coach. Na bagamat nagsalita yung coach niya na sumweldo naman siya, patuloy pa rin ang pag-iinit ng issue nito. Dahil dito at dahil hindi nakikialam ang Philippine Sports Commission na nagbibigay ng pera para sa mga National Sports Association, ilang senador ang nanawagan na muling tignan ang budget para sa Philippine Sports Commission para sa 2022. Ito'y pinangunahan ni Senador Pia Cayetano at sinigundahan ni Senator Joel Villanueva, Mig Zubiri at Dick Gordon. Meron tayong mga ilang punto na pwedeng ilahad dito na baka hindi nalalaman ng ating mga butihing senador. Unang-una, the Philippine Sports Commission is a government agency. National sports federations or national sports associations like PATAFA are private entities. Therefore, the PSC is not allowed to intervene in their internal problems. Yun po ang isang issue dyan na hindi po pwedeng makialam ang Philippine Sports Commission pag may gulo sa loob ang isang National Sports Association. Maaari silang tumulay, maaari silang magtanong, pero hindi po sila pwedeng makialam. Ang sinasabi ng ilang senador, bakit hindi ipagtanggol yung atleta natin na basta-basta na lang pinagbibintangan? Yan po ay issue na nasa ilalim ng National Sports Association. Papaliwanag ko po yan maya-maya. Pangalawa, ang mga issue sa loob ng isang National Sports Association ay maaaring maresolba ng walang ibang taong nakakaalam. No, yan po ang isang kinalulungkot ng Philippine Olympic Committee na naglabas ng pahayag ang Pangulo nito na si Congressman Bambol Tolentino na pwede naman pag-usapan, pwede naman hindi ilahad sa media ang issue. At kung iniimbestiga pa lang, bakit meron na kagad na bintang at pangalawa na talagang utos na ibalik yung pera kung pinag-iimbestiga pa lang. No? Pangatlo, ang Philippine Olympic Committee ang siyang pwedeng makipag-usap sa International Federation, ang namumuno, no, ang World Athletics. No? Kaya hindi po ang Philippine Sports Commission ang pwedeng maging parang referee dyan, no? O pumagitna dyan. Ang Philippine Olympic Committee nga po ay inatasan ng kanilang Ethics Committee na imbestigahan kung ano ba talaga ang nangyayari dahil magkasalungat ang sinasabi ng magkabilang panig. Now, this is where the Philippine Sports Commission can come in. They do have oversight functions and they ask each national sports association that has received public funds for an audit. They can demand liquidation and or even outright stop funding. There are several circumstances wherein this can happen. For example, if there are 2 successive Southeast Asian Games that a sport is not included, the PSC can stop funding for that. Secondly, they can stop funding the federation or association outright and pay the money directly to the athlete if necessary. And this has happened in some sports wherein they did not liquidate the government money that was given to them for the previous year. All right? So yun po ang saklaw ng responsibilidad ng Philippine Sports Commission. Now, why are we talking about a track and field issue? Because if the Senate recalls the budget of the PSC for 2022, puts it up for review, wants to make changes, or does not approve it altogether, that's going to cause a big problem. But first, what is the process there? Of course, they can have public hearings and all of that, but both houses must agree before anything can be done. Okay, so ganyan ho talaga sa lahat ng inaaprobahan ng Senado at ng Kongreso. Even when they pass laws, they have to both agree or they have one single version of whatever decision they want to enforce. Now, the last point I want to make is if they do recall the budget of the Philippine Sports Commission, any delays in the budget can impact any international sports events in 2022, and a lot of them involve the national boxing team. Okay, we have the Winter Olympics in January that doesn't involve the boxing team, but we have the Southeast Asian Games, we have the Asian Games, and we have the Asian Youth Games. And aside from that, all the other qualifying tournaments and even the World Championships of amateur boxing that will be held next year and are held annually. So anytime there's a problem in one sport that affects the entire Philippine Sports Commission, it impacts all the other sports, including boxing, which has been very successful in bringing the most medals to the Philippines. At yan po, kailangan mag-iingat po tayo sa kanyang issue dahil unang-una hindi nga talaga dapat nakikialam ang Philippine Sports Commission sa kahit anong problema ng national sports associations dahil unang-una, it's government intervention if they interfere, Secondly, that is not under their powers. At most, they can deprive funding or file cases if the funds have been indeed misused. But since it's just a preliminary investigation, then we still don't know what will happen next. At yan po ang ating issue ng isang sport na naapektuhan lahat, pati ang amateur boxing ng Pilipinas. Balik sa inyo, Boyet at Santino.
Thank you, Bill. Let's now go to our fearless forecast brought to you by Eastern Communications. Tatanungin ko po ang napakamarunong na si Santino nasan kung saan siya pupusta dito sa laban ni Teofimo Lopez na makakalaban si George Cambosos. Ang laban nito, mga kaibigan, ay mangyayari sa Hulu Theater at the Madison Square Garden, New York City sa darating pong Sabado. Linggo po ng umaga yan dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, Santino, kanino tayo pupusta?
Para sa akin, smart money would be on Teofimo Lopez. Pinakita niya against Vasily Lomachenko na he's one of the best in the world right now. Undefeated and iba momentum na dala ni Teofimo Lopez ngayon. As impressive and as talented as George Cambosos is, Manny Pacquiao protege, I think he's a little bit raw, a little bit not to say sort of saying not yet on that level as Teofimo Lopez. But boxing is a sport where anything can happen, and we never would have thought that Teofimo Lopez could do what he did to Vasily Lomachenko. Who knows? We might see the same with Cambosos and Lopez.
Mga kaibigan, now is the time for reliable connections. Eastern Communications Fiber One is ideal for powering small, medium enterprises that are on their way to digitizing their businesses and pushing forward to a strong and fearless tomorrow. They'll contact 5300-7000 or visit their website eastern.com.ph for more information about the service. And that is our fearless forecast brought to you by Eastern Communications. And that's the final banner for today's episode of Round by Round, presented to you by Eastern Communications. Ako po ang batang-batang si Boyet Sison.
Ako naman si Santino Hanasan. Please remember we're on Facebook at 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and on our YouTube channel right after. Don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe now.
Mga kaibigan, paglaki ko, sana po ay mas lumago ang balbas ko katulad ni Santino. And on the next edition of our program, it'll be Bill Velasco, D.C. Casiano, at ang napakaputing si Ryan Sungalia na inyong makakasama. This has been Round by Round, all boxing, all Filipino, all the time. Ingat po kayo.